All right, free radicals of all shapes, sizes, colors, denominations, orientations, educations, and even political affiliations. Aloha from very rainy Florida. Dark and cloudy here today. Going to be cold tonight. Oh boy, cold meaning down into the 50s and maybe even the upper 40s. So really rough for us Floridians tonight, at least in the southwest part. I know in the northern part of the state, it's literally an icebox. So anyway, just a good place to live. A booming economy down here is people continue to flock to the Sunshine State to get away from the gloom and the winter. Here's a tweet, a retweet by yours truly. How aren't Sanders supporters picking Tulsi as their number 2? Is this because Bernie leans neoliberal on foreign policy and is a Russiagator? And I wrote, damn, this sucks, because it does. Here's the Morning Consult. Second choice, Biden supporters pick Sanders. Sanders supporters pick Warren and then Biden. Huh? Warren supporters pick Sanders. Buttigieg supporters, as Jimmy Dore would call him, pick Warren, and then Biden, and then Bloomberg, and maybe Sanders. You know where Mayor Pete is. He's a neoliberal to the core. But let's take a look. Sanders supporters, their number 2 is Warren. Their number 3 is Biden, and I've seen some polls where Biden is the number 2. Yang is at 8%. They're not even... I don't understand how Bernie supporters are not picking Tulsi Gabbard as their number 2. Which basically validates all my suspicions about Bernie Sanders supporters. Okay, and I don't know, I didn't break down this poll, and maybe I should. Maybe I should have a polling expert come alongside and take a look at this poll. It's not that I trust the poll, but Tulsi's nowhere. Tulsi's not in the top 3. So, a couple of things. They don't think Tulsi is a serious candidate for president. These are Bernie supporters now. Okay? They don't align with Tulsi Gabbard on the whole Aloha thing. They don't like it. They don't get it. They're angry. They got pitchforks, and they're coming. Which is so appealing to the rest of America. Whereas Tulsi Gabbard could actually unite the country, I don't think Bernie Sanders has that capability. Bernie is neoliberal on foreign policy. And apparently his supporters are okay with that. Because they have to be. Because their next choice is Elizabeth Warren, whose first 3 letters in her last name, okay, have been capitalized quite a bit when people talk about her on Twitter, because they fear that Elizabeth Warren will certainly not get us out of any wars, has been really a big cheerleader and supporter for companies like Raytheon, because Raytheon is in her backyard, and she wants to make sure all the skids are greased. Okay, this is insider politics. I don't think Warren can win the nomination. I think she would get destroyed by Donald Trump in a general election. The Democrats right now are imploding because of all this stuff. And Tulsi supporters are now jumping onto Twitter and saying, look, I'm not going to support Bernie Sanders. This is the last straw. Bernie came out the other day, talked about how he didn't vote for the big military budget, and he said in the tweet, I'm the only candidate who didn't vote for this military budget, this bloated budget. What about Tulsi? Tulsi has never supported any of this. She voted against it, and he basically did a tweet and ignored Tulsi Gabbard. For those of you thinking that Bernie might pick Tulsi as his VP, don't think so. Don't think so. I think it would be, based on this, I think it would be Sanders and Warren. And that's, to me, that's a non-starter. I know there'll be a lot of people A lot of these neo-progressives out there who talk about, I don't know, these, like, there's a policy difference between Tulsi and Bernie, say, on, like, Medicare for All. And they overwhelmingly side with Bernie because their concern isn't about getting people covered. Their concern seems to be destroying the private insurance industry, like getting rid of it, abolishing. Even though Bernie's plan, as written, as the damn bill was written, as he always says, allows for private contracts between patients and their doctors. So you can work around, you can find a workaround, because, again, in America, people are free to choose things, and they're not going to like it. The most unpopular provision in Obamacare, in the Affordable Care Act, was the individual mandate. People wanted coverage, but they didn't want to pay for the coverage if they didn't want the coverage. But oh no, you've got to get everybody on board. You've got to herd them all together. And this is why, at times, and I'm not going to say the S word, but this is why at times it's hard to defend certain aspects of a very progressive agenda, like prison reform, for instance, that allows felons while they're in jail to vote. An immigration system that just allows people to walk over the border and decriminalizes that activity when, again, Americans from all races, creeds, colors are getting the shaft when all of these people come in from the third world and want to take jobs from people who are struggling to make ends meet as it is. Again, I'm compassionate. I want to know the motive of why someone's coming here. I want to make sure they're not affiliated with a gang or a terrorist organization and so forth. And we do need to streamline that process. That is far different from open borders. And I know Bernie is kind of on the edge on that, so it's hard to pin him down. I saw a video of the Bernie from 12 years ago, and I truly admired his policy. He just asked the question, if wages continue to go down, it's because we're importing people that are willing to work for, like, pennies on the dollar. And how is that going to improve the standard of living for people in this country? If the goal is, and we hear this all the time from Bernie, is that we live in the richest country in the world, we shouldn't have billionaires, billionaires shouldn't exist. I kind of agree with him. I don't see how you can even spend $1 billion in a lifetime, but maybe you can. And all of those arguments where we are the greatest country, so people should get health care. People should get this. They should get that. They should get college, all right? And I agree with all of those tenets. The problem is he's not consistent in his delivery of that message over other issues, all right? This idea that the military budget itself, in and of itself, is a disaster is a good place to start. But the way he did this, the way he excluded Tulsi and basically didn't even mention her, shows that I don't think he has any intention of courting Tulsi supporters. It's mind-blowing that at this stage where I was solidly Bernie at number 2, I don't know if I can go there anymore. I don't like any of them as number 2. I don't like Andrew Yang either because his foreign policy is a complete disaster. And he says crazy stuff. He's a Russiagator. And I know, today's impeachment day, right? Woohoo! Ratings are in the tank for impeachment. Nobody seems to care about it. My morning news didn't mention it once. And I watched the entire newscast. 2 hours, not one mention of the upcoming impeachment vote. Here in Florida, people don't think Donald Trump should be impeached. They're okay with having an election and seeing if the Democrats can send someone to defeat Donald Trump, but nobody believes that what Donald Trump did is impeachable. And again, a huge tactical error. He goes into the new year with a Senate trial that, by the way, is going to be cheerleading for Donald Trump the entire time. It's going to actually look at the evidence presented, and it's going to be explained so the American people can actually understand it. It's not going to be explained in the light of Ukraine or Russia. It's just going to be explained based on the corrupt way it was gathered and put together, and how there's really no there, as people like to say. But I'll tell you what, if it's not Tulsi, if Tulsi doesn't get this nomination, I'm going to look again seriously at the Green Party and the Libertarian Party. Both parties have issues. The Green Party probably would be the best fit for me. They have a great Senate candidate running in Maine who you need to check out if you're truly concerned about progressive ideas, and also somebody who would go up against the establishment. They have ranked choice voting in Maine, so this is a great opportunity to put someone in power who will vote for the people and who will stand up for the people. And you put a little chink in that armor, and then I think you get an avalanche of people running in that party. And I'm completely, my mind is completely boggled, all right, by how little the progressive movement seems to care about the Green Party. And the reason I say that, yeah, they'll talk about Jill Stein, she was great, blah, 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 have Jill Stein on my show. But what about now? What about now? We see the whole thing collapsing, the DNC imploding. Yeah, I know, the debate is tonight or tomorrow night, right? Who cares? It's a dog and pony show. Everyone's digging out from snowstorms and waiting for their Amazon packages and working 2 or 3 jobs to try to, afford Christmas presents, and on and on. Nobody cares. Nobody cares about what Tom Steyer has to say. They just don't. They like the ads, though. They really like seeing advertisements on TV with Tom Steyer. Because apparently the dude is climbing in the polls, like I told people. All right? And if, Biden collapses and they need an alternative, or at the very least, they need Tom Steyer's delegates to put Biden over the top, that's probably the end game. Same with Bloomberg. Okay, Bloomberg doesn't need to be in the debates to score all these delegates. So, we've been telling everybody it's rigged. We told people this back in March? And here we are in December, and the big concern of progressives is who said what to whom, and how was it said, and I don't know. There's just so, it's like, again, analyzing the dog race, the horse race, however you want to categorize it. In the end, we're losing. We're losing. Tulsi Gabbard is the only hope to bring the country together. She would be beating Donald Trump in a landslide. I predicted that a while ago. I still stand by that. She takes a bunch of Trump supporters. She unites the Green Party, the Libertarian Party. People are just going to say, hey, I'm not going to get this in a minor party running in a major platform. But that major platform, which is the DNC, they're not going to allow a Tulsi Gabbard. And most likely they're not going to allow a Bernie Sanders, even though I think Bernie is now fully playing their game. He's in the neoliberal corner on a lot of issues, and he's weak sounding. And then again, to leave Tulsi out of this and say, oh, I'm the only one that voted against this budget. The only senator maybe to vote against the budget. I mean, you could just word it a little bit better. But Tulsi supporters, and I see it on Twitter, they're bailing. They're like, no, you need us, but you don't want us. You're not talking to us. And I said from the get-go, the more Bernie goes down the neoliberal path, the whole Russiagate, we're not going to even talk about free speech or Julian Assange. There's another issue that many of us feel is crucial to democracy. Actual, real whistleblowing, not the kind that was done against Trump, but real whistleblowing against the machine, which is our own government, which does things behind our back, which are unconstitutional, illegal, criminal, and yet Bernie is silent on these things, whereas Tulsi has vocalized. Everybody was like, ooh, Bernie came out against the Bolivian coup really early. He said something like, it's probably a coup, and people were all up in arms because Tulsi hadn't delivered a statement on it. And then when Tulsi came out, she said, no, it's definitely a coup. Her statement was far more definitive. Did she win any points with the burners? No, none. But she had little upstart YouTube channels saying, oh, this is the end. Tulsi doesn't speak out. Boy, her credibility is shot. No, Tulsi Gabbard's credibility is intact. In fact, she is the most honorable, decent candidate out there. In the mix of things that she brings to the table is unlike any candidate we've had in the last half century. So, again, my premise here is that if Tulsi Gabbard is not your number 2, and she's not number 2, she's not number 3, she's not number 4. Is she number 5? I mean, this is pathetic. This is pathetic. So Bernie supporters will go with Warren. Your ticket looks like Bernie and Warren. If he were to win the nomination, and Warren supporters are going to throw their delegates to Bernie, you've got a ticket which is quasi-neoliberal. Neo-conservative. No, I'm not conservative, but neo-progressive. Something like that, at best. And they'll run, I guarantee you they're going to run to the center in a general. They're going to run to the center, whereas Tulsi Gabbard doesn't have to run anywhere because her policies appeal across ideological and political lines. Both of these candidates, both Sanders and Warren, are going to have to get a big makeover for a general election. Tulsi Gabbard can just be herself. This is why Tulsi is far superior to any other candidate running. And I'll tell you what, if it's not Tulsi, it's most likely going to be Biden, and it could be even Bloomberg or Steyer, but it's most likely going to be Biden. And then everybody's going to say, oh, gee, the DNC rigged everything at the end of it. And everyone's going to be outraged. They should have been thinking about this in 2017 rather than doing recounts on Trump and doing the resistance and doing, the endless hearings on the phony Russia thing and then the phony Ukraine thing and now basically the phony impeachment thing. It's incredible how much energy the country has wasted in pursuing these things, and the news media doesn't care about us. They care about clicks, views. They don't care about us. And it's evident. That's why we need a third way. We need a way around this debacle. And until we all wake up, you want to be woke on something? Be woke that the two political parties are broken. And that the Democrats, they almost didn't even have this debate because, of organized labor getting in their way. They just reached an agreement. Wow. That was a close one. Because we want to make sure all the corporate sponsors who've already paid big money for their ads during this dog and pony show, those corporate sponsors get their money, and a few crumbs get thrown out to these poor working class people who have to cook and clean and do things that a lot of Americans apparently don't or won't do or look down upon, which is even probably worse than not wanting to do the work yourself. So, I don't know. Sanders is probably not my number 2 anymore. I just can't do it. There are too many things this guy is doing, and the fact that the end game is we're going to get a guy who can't get anything done because he's polarizing. He's going to be polarizing, whereas Tulsi Gabbard is not going to be polarizing. Tulsi Gabbard is polarizing within the DNC, but nationally, Tulsi Gabbard is a unifying candidate, and the DNC is really stupid for not promoting her candidacy. Because they would rather lose and get Trump again, and then after the 8 years, boy, people are really going to be tired of Trump. Yeah, well, they're tired of any president after 8 years. That's why you got Trump after Obama. And you got George W. Bush after Clinton. And you got Obama after George W. Bush. So if it's an 8-year run, the other party has a good chance of winning. But for the time being, everything is just going to stagnate. For those who are getting richer, that's awesome. For those who are struggling to make ends meet working 2 jobs, and they're one $500 or $600 emergency away from not being able to pay their bills, those people aren't going to see any relief unless we completely retool our thinking. Again, don't forget about that Senate candidate in Maine. I'm going to be talking about her. She's running in the Green Party. I will probably do a video over on Rockfin about her candidacy. I think it's very important that we get somebody in office who doesn't have a D or an R in front of their name, somebody who's truly going to represent the interests of the people and not big corporations and not the military-industrial complex. And we got to start somewhere. And I wish more progressives would talk about Green Party candidates and elevate them, because they're not getting any press coverage and they need help. All right? Again, I'm not too keen on the 2 front runners for the Green Party nomination, but hey, I'm a free radical agent. I will look at this again, and I'm hoping Jesse Ventura shows up on the scene. And I'm not giving up on Tulsi. Tulsi is our best hope, and I'm hoping that the Tulsi movement goes forward. I know a lot of people would love her to run as an independent or a green, and screw what Hillary Clinton has to say about, Russia and the grooming and so forth. We're grooming Tulsi Gabbard. Nobody is grooming Tulsi Gabbard except the people who support Tulsi Gabbard. All right. So I'm done. Again, thanks for watching. If you can help me out, PayPal contributions, David J. Spurrier at gmx.com. One-time donations. Had a nice holiday gift yesterday. Show up from a good guy by the name of Dwayne, who has supported this channel all along. I appreciate his support and everyone else. Please subscribe to the channel. Please share the videos, watch them, put them on repeat play, put them on an endless loop, and, make a little folder. Go to work and just press play, and the videos will run all day. And who knows, maybe my revenue stream might get to the point where I can make some money off this thing. But right now, it's breaking even at best. All right, people, thanks again. More content coming soon, so stay tuned.